Here for match 1. Can't really keep the one lander, especially with the... Wonder why it keeps... Every time I get a new version of a deck, it keeps doing the one of skewer that's normal. This hand isn't great either, but don't really think we can afford going much below 6, so... And obviously, one of Barbarian Ring worth testing out, so... Mishra's Bauble doesn't really tell us a whole lot yet. Basic Island. Oh, okay. So we're likely up against some type of it's an 03, right? Yeah. This is attacking with it in case they have Ragavan. So we're up against either a Wizard's deck or a variant of Murktide, which looks like we're up against a variant of... No. Yeah, we're still up against a variant of Nadu slash Breach. Crack a Clue, sure. So it'll be a 3/3. So force them to make their token now. Okay, well. Yep. Don't disagree with my opponent on that one. Despite the fact that they're probably still going to win this game, but Yep, despite that fact, the might help some, but probably not. Mm-hmm. Question is, do they have a Shadow Spear? Six. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely want a okay. Guess we can theoretically try to stay in this game, but I'm pretty sure we're dead this turn cycle. See if there are any Urza High Artificer decks running around yet. Okay, so they're a Nadu deck. Yeah, don't even let you attack. Alright, 2 Wear Terrors in 3 Smash to Smithereens in Tunnelingus. Only somewhat good if they're comboing, which looks like their deck is fairly decent setup at comboing. I don't even want these. Skull Cracks are a little middling. Lightning Helix isn't the best per se. Eidolons are... Like, on one hand, Eidolon is good, are okay. But on the other hand, it's very middling, so... Let's take out the one tilting skewer the critics. This hand is not good with all the 2-drops and a 1-lander. This hand is equally not good, but I don't think we can really afford to mulligan to Oblivion here. So, question is, what am I putting back? Lands? Points of burn isn't great, but at least it's something, right? Oh, would have loved to have had. Okay, that works. Another land would be pretty decent here. Let's go ahead and take the opportunity to blow that to heck. Here, because the spend Rift Bold, but it's not the most mana efficient play, so. Suspect what we're going to see is the way they played, they're going to float a mana and try to play Nadu after going and getting Shuko. Oh no, they just kept a 2-lander? Bloop. Sure. That was actually dumb. I should have probably Boros Charmed on end step there. So here comes Metallic, or Flare of Denial, sure. Really gotta stop doing that. Yep. Get your trigger. Harsh Mentor is certainly a card that should be in the sideboard. I think it's so much better than totaling this right now. Okay, next 1/1 goes and gets a whatever. Shuko. Go another Nadu. Of course they do. We're not coming back from that, so definitely need the Harsh Mentor. Match number 2. Alright, this hand is pretty fast and offensive, which is kind of where we want to be in the format right now. I half expect when someone pauses during my turn 1 to get Subtle Deed, but Polluted Delta. Against Crabvine or Dredge? Still tells me nothing. Could be Death Shadow too. Say the irony is here, if we draw a land, our opponent could be dead. Sure. Alright, do you have a Force of Negation? You do not. Alright. Psychic Frog. See, my understanding of most of these decks, yeah, kind of hard to say. Either which way, we definitely want the Sanctifiers. And probably the 2 Firecrafts. On the draw, probably want to go down the Eidolons. And the one of Skewer the Critics that looks heinous. Alright, 2 spells, 5 lands. Definitely not keeping this. Go ahead and risk the 1 lander for now. Land? Not a land, but it's a rift. So it doesn't get to utilize their min on 1. Feels like a Bowmaster would be my guess. Getting Bowmastered into Necrodominance. There's the Bowmaster we figured we had. Yeah, that's why I didn't play the Swift Spirit, because it just would have ran face first into that. Ah, there's a Tour deck. Land. I think we just hold up Bolt here. Could very easily have an Undying effect in their hand. That's not why I wasn't going after this Taru. They did not. Psychic Frog, sure. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they can give this flying for a turn. That's a good one to know about. Definitely a Chakothian Nightmare deck, so... Definitely keeping this one. Very painful hand, but potentially a very good hand. But I'll get grief scammed. Swap. It's in a deck that ironically doesn't play that many lands, so... Citrus Supplier, sure. So we attack, let them block. Of course they have grief. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, I think they have to take Sanctifier here, right? Is that another one of the Edict effect dudes? I mean, basically got to play it, so... Have another flare. $11 down to 8. Okay. Got nothing. Pass. Alright, and put a conceit. Alright, match number 3. One laner, gonna have to mulligan again. This hand's okay. Question is, what am I putting back with this hand? So candidates for putting back on the draw would be Eidolon, Skewer, or Skullcrack. I'm suspecting I'm going to be putting back Skullcrack here, simply because the third land's Sunbaked Canyon, so... we have no early... Looks like we're going to be up against bullcrap prison deck. Okay, turn 2 Trini. Turn 2 Thought Knot. Turn 2 Thought Knot. Goodbye, Skewer the Critics. Okay, so not a whole lot on our board for this matchup. Okay. Taking a lot of damage here. And our opponent can just potentially kill us with like an Emrakul or something here in a couple turns. Alright, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, 2 Wear Terrors in. 3 Smash Smithereens in. Definitely go down the Eidolons. Probably would love to get these Searing Blazes out of my deck too. Not a huge fan of any of these configurations, honestly. So. We'll get in the 1-lander. Keep this one. You know, I'm glad Burn had its moment in the sun as the format kind of started to settle, but I don't think Burn's going to be well positioned moving forward. This is what the meta is going to start looking like. Turn 1 Chalice. Nope. Vexing Bauble. Of all the cards, you thought Vexing Bauble was a good choice. Okay. Mm-hmm. Land, please. Okay, so Thought-Knot are probably elemental. Yeah, whatever. Interesting choice. So we'll make an elemental here, and we can just blow up either the it does nothing. Why would you not make a construct there? Mm-hmm. Yep. Alright. I know I played that way overly cautious, but these Eldrazi decks can have some weird stuff in them, and so... Eldrazi. Okay, that ironically looks somewhat close to what we're up against. Actually, do probably want to bring the Searing Blazes back in over the vortices. His hand is trash. Can't keep a 4-lander. Okay, try this hand. Turn 1, Chalice bullshit, go. Oh, the Kozilek's command. Okay. Yeah, they get X or less. Okay, that's honestly kind of annoying. Sure. Scion. Huh? Oh. Draw a card. Got it. It's like I thought they were making a Scion. No, they were just drawing a card. Yeah, I don't know how we ever beat that card in a million years. Yeah, that's very annoying. Mm-hmm. Well, no, Seer gets nothing. There we go. So we have the Kozileks, which I'm going to call it in their hand anyway. Alright. One of your finest burn spells would be nice. That should do it. Unless there's some weird thing I can't think of that doesn't put that trigger on the stack. Okay. Two and one with burn so far in this league. Alright, so taking a look at this version as opposed to the one we played last time. The one we played last time had the 4 skull cracks in the main. This one had the 2-2 split on Helix and that. That part's all fine. This Skewer the Critics has got to go. Every time I import a list, it likes to put one of these stupid skewers in the list, and it's kind of annoying. But trying out the 1 Barbarian Ring. It's been fine so far. It's popped up a couple times, especially in the early games. Rest of the deck's pretty whatever. Eidolon feels a little bit better in the meta now than it was, but still not maybe the greatest of cards. Especially against these like Eldrazi decks and stuff. Yes, they do have some early drops that trigger this, but they have a lot of 3 and 4 drops. So main deck configurations, whatever. The sideboard, this is where, you know, I think I chose poorly on the list that we were running. So last time the list we were in was 4-4-4-3. This was the list that was a little bit newer in the format. Had 4 copies of Tunneling Ingus. I think this list is okay. This sideboard, I like kind of this split, but the rest of the sideboard I could kind of take or leave. Sanctifier, obviously, Grief decks are still running around, Necrodominance decks. Sanctifier's pretty reasonable against those decks, although the one we did play had a bunch of Edict effects, so Sanctifier was a little bit less good in that matchup. Exquisite Firecraft, there's a lot of counterspell decks in the format right now, whether it's the Nadu variants, whether it's the Nadu Breach decks, whether it's those kind of things, so that's fine there. Tunnelingus, primarily good against Amulet, Nadu. It's fine. Then 3 Vortex, okay against life gain, especially with the plethora of Flage decks running around. 2 things I will say. Number 1, you probably want, like when a Gruul deck I was playing on the main Modern channel, Harsh Mentor is a card that stock is just going to continue to rise and is probably a necessary evil as long as Nadu's in the format. It's good against that, and it's good against Yogg. Both decks kind of require you to have specific tech. So I think Harsh Mentor is definitely on the rise, especially as long as Nadu's a top tier deck. As far as the rest of the sideboard, I think you need Sanctifier and Vec. Grief decks are a thing. Ruby Storm's a thing. While Ruby Storm can certainly win without its graveyard, its life gets a whole lot easier. And the Gruul variants don't play an answer to Sanctifier and Vec. The Boros variants do play Static Prison, so this isn't like a catch-all end-all. But this can come down, nuke your opponent's graveyard, force them to jump through hoops, either cast a Wish or cast a Static Prison. Maybe buy you a little bit of time to close out the game against a deck that already has 4 Eidolon and the Great Revel in main, which that's probably the one matchup where you absolutely want Eidolon. Wear Tears, I don't know if these are as important as they once were. Obviously, they're relevant against the Eldrazi decks. They're all relevant against all these Urza Sagas and Shukos running around. But I don't know if it should be this or if it should just be the Force Smash. But it's kind of where I land on main lane burn right now. I think next week we'll try to work on Amped Raptor list, if at all possible. I feel like that as these lists get tuned more and more, the Eldrazi lists, the Tron lists, the Prison Tron lists, the Nadu lists, Burn's equity in those matchups is going to go down a little bit. I played again a lot against Eldrazi Tron. Now, Eldrazi Tron, a little bit more inconsistent than the new decks with Ugin's Labyrinth and Eldrazi Temple. They're very powerful. But I do think Ugin's Labyrinth is, I think, the example of a card that is very good. But being well balanced. I think Nadu is a questionable card, especially when you pair it with things like Force of Negation, Flare of Denial. If you build your deck the right way, I do think that deck is going to be very difficult to beat consistently. The new Jeskai energy control decks that are running around, is it Breach coming back, Death Shadow popping up every now and again. I do like the design space, what they've done with MH3, with the only card that I question whether it's well balanced being Nadu. Do I know if it'll ever get banned or not? Who the heck knows? It's one of those 3-minute Simic cards that just, seem to be magnets for getting bans with Oko and Uro. But it is what it is. The other card, Flage, is making good waves. A lot of burn lists have been playing Flage, and I'll be honest, if I was still on the Mana Traders plan, I'd probably be playing Flage right along with them, because I think Flage is not good as the card is in a deck like Burn. Being, worst case scenario, it's still a 3-mana Lightning Helix. You can still buy it back, especially in Poseidon's deck variant with the DRC, Bobble, Slick Shot. That deck fills up the graveyard quite well. I think Burn needs a heavy hitter. And I've jokingly made in the past, Oko Burn, Uro Burn, just as a complete troll. Now, Flage being in our colors and it being a good mid-range card, while incidentally playing well with what our deck does, which is just deal the opponent 3 damage with every card we play, I think Flage is going to probably end up being a burn staple. I think a one of Barbarian Ring is going to kind of compete with Fiery Islet. Amped Raptor is the one that I question, especially if we don't want to revamp Burn towards a more energy-centric package. I do wonder about that one, but I think Barbarian Ring and Flage both are going to end up being Burn staples in the long run. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think Burn needed a power boost. It didn't get any real new spells other than Flage, so it's not in the best of spots, but it's certainly better than not getting anything at all. I mean, we got Sanctifier in the deck from MH2, we got some Mid-Canyon from MH1. Other than that, we really haven't gotten a whole lot new lately in Burn. Traditional Burn. Obviously, Slickshot Burn. I really hesitate to call that Burn. It's more prowess, but it does have enough Burn in it that's kind of teetering that edge. So, anyways. If you like Burn content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you for next week's video.